The space station Vorel Nexus hung in the dark like a giant wheel of light, orbiting a dying star. Inside its glowing halls, humans and aliens worked side by side. But some places inside the station remained off-limits, marked by alien symbols that even translators refused to explain. Jack Reynolds, a human engineer from Earth, was busy fixing broken power lines in the lower decks. His job was simple: patch the wires, reset the systems, and move to the next section. But that day, something strange caught his attention. A faint humming noise echoed from a narrow hallway. Jack paused, listening carefully. It wasn't the sound of machines or cables. It was soft, like singing, but in a voice unlike any human sound. Curious and maybe a little bored, Jack decided to investigate. He followed the sound, deeper into the restricted zone. His flashlight flickered across metallic walls marked with glowing blue symbols. The translator on his wrist didn't recognize the writing, but the sound grew clearer, a soft melody that made his skin shiver. At the end of the hallway, Jack found a sealed door slightly open. Warm light spilled from inside. He hesitated, knowing he should turn back, but curiosity won. He pushed the door open, just enough to peek inside. His breath caught in his throat. Standing in the center of the room was an alien woman, tall and slender, her skin shimmering like liquid silver under the lights. She stood by a pool of glowing water, completely unclothed. Her hair flowed like silk. Her eyes closed as she sang in a voice so pure it seemed unreal. Jack tried to look away, but he was frozen in place. He had never seen anything like her, not in any human book, not in any file about alien species. Then her eyes snapped open. Two large, luminous orbs, bright and blue, like twin moons. She saw him. For a moment, there was silence. Then, everything happened at once. She screamed loud and sharp, her hands flying to cover herself. The lights in the room turned red, alarms blaring in the hallways. Jack stumbled back, panicking, but guards in shining black armor rushed. In plasma spears pointed at his chest, Jack raised his hand, shouting, "Wait! I didn't mean to! I didn't know!" But the guards didn't care. They grabbed him, forcing him to his knees. The alien woman shouted something in her language, tears of humiliation in her eyes. A translator device crackled, catching only part of her words. He saw me, without covering. The law demand. Marriage or death. Jack blinked. What marriage? What death? The guards didn't explain. They dragged him through the station halls, his mind racing with confusion and fear. All he had done was follow a song. And now he was a prisoner. Hours passed before anyone spoke to him properly. Finally, an old alien official, wearing dark robes, stood before him. The translator finally worked. "You are guilty," the elder said coldly. "You saw Lady Valara in her uncovered form. By Vorel law, this is an unpardonable act." Wait. Jack protested. "I didn't know. I was just fixing wires." The door wasn't even locked. The elder's eyes burned with quiet anger. "Ignorance does not matter. The law is clear. Either you marry Lady Valara, binding your lives together, or both of you will be executed by morning." Jack stared in horror. Marry? He had never even talked to her. And death for just seeing someone unclothed? "But that's crazy," Jack yelled. "You can't just kill us over a mistake." "It is our way," the elder said. "You disrespected her honor. Only marriage can restore it." Jack was speechless. It was a nightmare. He hadn't even meant to look, but now his life hung by a thread, all because of one moment of curiosity. Later, in a small room, he finally saw Valara again. She sat quietly, wrapped in a shimmering cloak, her silver hair falling over her shoulders. She didn't look angry, just sad. When their eyes met, she looked away, ashamed. "I'm sorry," Jack whispered. "I didn't know." Valara's voice was soft but cold. It doesn't matter. The bond is done. If we don't marry, they will kill us both. Jack wanted to scream. He was just a repairman, not a husband, not a criminal, and certainly not ready to marry an alien stranger. As the station lights dimmed for the night cycle, Jack realized one terrifying truth. By the next sunrise, he would either be dead or married to an alien woman he had just met, all because of a single forbidden encounter. Jack didn't sleep that night. How could he? Somewhere on the alien station, judges were already deciding his fate. The thought made his stomach twist. They'd given him a small room with no windows, just steel walls and a single light. There was no bed, only a narrow bench. Jack sat there, head in his hands, trying to understand what had happened. How could seeing someone naked mean death? That was just insane. On Earth, people accidentally walked in on each other all the time. No one died for it. But here, on Varel Nexus, the rules were different. And suddenly, the door hissed open. 2 guards stepped in, followed by a familiar figure, Valara. She was wrapped in layers of silver fabric, her face partly hidden by a thin veil. Even so, Jack could see her eyes, large and glowing blue, but no longer angry. They looked tired. She stood there silently, studying him. Jack stood too, uncertain whether to speak. "Why did you follow the song?" she asked quietly. Jack blinked, surprised by the question. I didn't mean to. I heard it by accident while fixing the power lines. I got curious. I didn't know it was a private chamber." Valara sighed deeply. "On my world, such places are sacred. The song I sang is called the Song of Purity. We only sing it when we are preparing ourselves for deep rituals. No one is allowed to witness it, not even family." Jack felt his throat tighten. "I'm sorry. I didn't know. On Earth, things aren't like that." "I know," Valara whispered. "But Varel laws are ancient and strict." She stepped closer, her eyes shining under the cold light. "Once a person witnesses a Varel woman during the Song of Purity, their souls are marked. The law says the only way to restore my honor is to marry the witness, or else both must die." Jack shook his head. "But why death? That's cruel." Valara looked away. "Because of fear. Long ago, our people shared this ritual with outsiders. But it brought disaster. One of our ancestors married a human-like species, and it led to betrayal. Our powers, the ones we awakened during the song, were stolen. Our leaders decided that never again would outsiders be allowed to see the ritual unless they were bound for life." Jack felt his skin crawl. "Powers? What powers? What happens if we marry?" he asked carefully. Valara looked up. "We will be bound. Not just by law, but by something deeper. Our minds, our energies, even our bodies, they will start to synchronize. It is called the soul binding. I will feel your emotions, and you might start feeling mine." Jack backed away slightly. "Whoa, I didn't sign up for that." "No," she whispered. "Neither did I." For a moment, silence filled the room. 2 strangers, 1 human, 1 alien, trapped by a brutal tradition neither wanted. But then Valara's shoulders slumped. "Still, if we don't do this, we both die." "I don't want to die," Jack sighed. He didn't want to die either. But the thought of marrying a woman he just met, a woman from another species, felt insane. Yet what choice did he have? Sharp knock interrupted them. An elder guard entered and announced, "The council demands your answer. Will you marry and accept the bond, or will you both face execution at dawn?" Jack looked at Valara. She looked back, eyes soft and shimmering. For the first time, he saw her not just as an alien, but as a person trapped like him. Someone who didn't deserve to die for a stupid accident. "I'll do it," Jack said, voice steady. "I'll marry her." Valara nodded slowly, her gaze unreadable. Then let it be done, the guard grunted. The ceremony begins in 1 hour. The ceremonial hall was nothing like a human wedding. It was dark and quiet, lit by floating orbs of blue light. The air smelled of strange flowers. In the center stood a circle of stone, inscribed with alien markings. Valara stood across from Jack, still veiled, her silver dress flowing like liquid metal. A tall priestess chanted in the Varel language, her voice echoing through the chamber. Then the priestess held up 2 glowing rings, unlike any human rings. These were made of thin, translucent crystal. Place the rings, the translator whispered in Jack's ear. With trembling fingers, Jack slipped the ring onto Valara's delicate hand. She did the same, her touch cool and careful. As the rings settled, they glowed faintly, sending a strange warmth through Jack's palm. The priestess declared something in a loud voice. The translator delivered the chilling words. The binding is complete. Your souls are now linked. By law and by nature, you are one. The chamber fell silent. Jack looked at Valara. She still wouldn't meet his eyes, but deep in his mind, Jack felt it, a tiny spark, like an echo of her presence, brushing against his thoughts. Their bond had begun, and Jack had a sinking feeling that things were going to get even stranger from here. Jack didn't expect to feel anything after the strange marriage ritual. No love, no magic, nothing. But as he left the ceremonial hall, something was different. Deep in his mind, it was like a soft whisper, a presence sitting quietly, not speaking, not disturbing, just there. It was Valara. They hadn't exchanged a single word since the ceremony. She walked ahead of him, silent and graceful, the soft fabric of her silver dress trailing behind. Guards escorted them both to a new chamber, this time much larger, almost like a shared suite. This is your bonded quarters, the guard said stiffly. You are not allowed to leave this section of the station until further notice. Before Jack could ask more, the doors sealed shut, leaving him and Valara alone. The room was dim, illuminated by soft blue lights in the walls. There were 2 beds, a table with fruit he didn't recognize, and a window showing the stars outside. For a moment, Jack just stood there, unsure what to say. The awkwardness was unbearable. Finally, Valara spoke, her back still to him. We're married now, by your human understanding. We are husband and wife. Jack swallowed. Yeah, I guess we are. She turned slowly, her veil still covering most of her face. But her eyes, those glowing, pale blue eyes, looked tired. Almost sad. I never wanted this, she admitted quietly. Me neither, Jack confessed. I was just doing my job. I wasn't trying to spy on you. Valara nodded. I believe you, but my people don't care about intent. Only the result. Jack sat on one of the beds, running his hands through his hair. So what now? Are we supposed to live like this, together? Valara hesitated, then finally removed her veil. Her silver-white hair fell around her shoulders, shimmering like strands of starlight. She was undeniably beautiful, but Jack didn't feel attraction. Just a deep, uncomfortable connection, as if their minds had a string tying them together. There is more you need to know, Valara said, sitting across from him. The binding isn't just a ritual. It's single quotes biological. My ancestors were designed to bond with others through this ceremony. Now that we are linked, my body will begin to change. Jack frowned. Change how? I will begin to feel your emotions, your fears, your desires, even your pain. Eventually, you might start feeling mine too. The bond creates balance between 2 beings. Jack shook his head, overwhelmed. That sounds intense. Valara smiled weakly. It is, which is why most avoid it, and why the law exists to prevent careless bonds. They both sat in silence, the reality sinking in. Married by accident, bonded by law, trapped by biology, But the worst part was yet to come. Valara's voice grew softer. There is another reason the elders pushed for this marriage. Jack looked up, confused. What reason? Valara's eyes darkened. The bond ... awakens dormant abilities in my kind. Powers that haven't been seen for centuries. They are afraid of what I might become because of this link. Jack felt a chill. Powers? Like what? I don't know, she admitted. It varies. Some gain telepathy. Others control energy or matter. It's unpredictable. Jack stared at her, heart pounding. This wasn't just a cultural problem anymore. It was something more dangerous. They think. I might turn into something powerful, something uncontrollable, she added. That's when it hit Jack. Maybe this wasn't just about honor or law. Maybe this was about fear. The elders feared what would happen if Lara's powers awakened. And now that Jack was bonded to her, he was part of that danger too. They'll try to separate us, Jack muttered. Or worse ... kill us. Valara nodded slowly. Yes, some will. Just then, a sharp pain stabbed the side of Jack's head. He winced, grabbing his temple. It wasn't normal pain. It was ... foreign. Like someone else's hurt bleeding into his mind. Valara gasped at the same time. Her hand on her own head. You felt that? Jack nodded. What the hell was that? She looked horrified. The bond. It's sinking faster than I thought. Jack stared at her. So you're saying we can feel each other's pain now? Not fully. But it's starting, she whispered. And that means whatever happens to me, happens to you. Jack sat back, overwhelmed. This wasn't just a forced marriage anymore. It was a shared fate. Valara stood and faced the window, watching the distant stars. We need to find a way to control this connection, she said, or we won't survive long, because sooner or later, someone will come for us. Jack followed her gaze, the weight of their bond settling in his chest. They were strangers, forced into marriage, tied by ancient laws and an alien connection. But now, they'd have to trust each other, or they'd both end up dead. Asterisk the first thing Jack noticed the next morning wasn't the light filtering from the window or the cold floor beneath his feet. It was the presence inside his mind, soft, steady, almost like someone breathing next to his thoughts. It was Valara. He sat up quickly, realizing he could feel her. Not just her emotions, but the very texture of her mind, as if a part of her was gently curled inside his head. He could sense her heartbeat, faint but real, like a distant drum. He glanced across the room. Valara was already awake, standing near the window with her back to him. She was whispering something, words in her native language, too soft for the translator to catch. Jack stood slowly, rubbing his temples. Did you sleep at all? Valara turned her head slightly. Sleep is difficult when someone else's mind is pressing against yours. Jack chuckled dryly. Yeah, welcome to my world. But then he paused, watching her closely. Something was different about her. Her skin, once smooth and silver, now shimmered with soft patterns, like glowing lines tracing beneath her skin. They pulsed faintly, like circuits alive with energy. Valara ... Your skin. It's glowing. She glanced at her arms and sighed. It has begun. What's begun? Jack asked, stepping closer. The awakening, she whispered. The elders feared it, and now it's happening. Jack shook his head. Okay, you keep saying that, but what does it mean? Valara looked away, her voice low. The bond between us is ancient. Our species once shared this ritual freely with others. But the bond didn't just connect minds, it unlocked power. Abilities buried in our genetics. Powers our ancestors created to defend themselves, or conquer others. Jack frowned. So ... you're saying because we're married, you're getting superpowers? In a way, she admitted. But it's not just me. The bond links us. If I change ... so will you. That made Jack's stomach sink. He was just a regular guy, an engineer, a fixer of broken wires and stubborn machines. He wasn't built for powers or destiny. Valara sat on the edge of her bed, staring at her glowing hands. "There's more," she said. "A history the elders don't tell outsiders." Jack sat across from her, listening closely. "Long ago," Valara began, "our people formed bonds with other species, humans mostly, or those close to your kind. These unions created hybrids, beings with minds that could control energy, bend matter, even read the thoughts of entire crowds." Jack blinked. "You're serious?" She nodded. "But power breeds fear. Some hybrids use their abilities for war. Civilizations fell because of them. So our ancestors banned the bonding of outsiders. The law became strict: marry if seen, or die. It was their way to control the risk." Jack leaned forward, trying to understand. "But if that's true, why not just ... I don't know, erase the memory of the one who saw you? Or exile them?" Valara's eyes darkened. "Because the bond starts the moment you see us during the Song of Purity. The imprint is automatic, irreversible. It's in our biology. That's why you started feeling my presence. Why we can't pull away." Jack ran a hand down his face. He didn't ask for any of this. Yet here he was, linked to an alien woman with powers waking up in her veins, and some ancient history dragging them both toward an unknown fate. "So what happens if your powers keep growing?" he asked. Valara shook her head slowly. "I don't know. No one has done this in generations." Suddenly, the lights in the room flickered. A cold voice echoed through a hidden speaker. "Bonded pair 117. You are summoned to the High Council, now." Jack exchanged a look with Valara. "What do they want?" She stood carefully. "Either to test us ... or to kill us." The High Council chamber was a towering dome, walls lined with shimmering banners of the Varel species. 12 elders sat in a circle, their faces stern and unreadable. In the center stood an ancient device, a large crystal orb hovering over a stone pedestal. An elder gestured to Valara. "Step forward." She did, her silver-white hair trailing behind her like a comet tail. The elder pointed to the orb. "This is the resonance stone. It detects the depth of the bond and the power within." Valara placed her hand on the orb. Instantly, the crystal glowed, first faintly, then brighter, pulsing with intense blue light. The chamber filled with a humming sound, deep and bone-shaking. The elders murmured, visibly shaken. "It is as we feared," one whispered. "The awakening has begun." Jack stepped forward. "What does that mean? What happens to her?" The oldest elder glared at him. "It means she may become more powerful than any of us. A threat to the order we have maintained." Jack clenched his fists. "She's not a threat. She didn't ask for this." The elder's voice was cold. "Intentions don't matter. Power does." He raised his hand, and suddenly, guards marched forward, weapons drawn. "Take them," the elder commanded. "If the bond cannot be broken, they must be destroyed." Valara's eyes widened, and in that instant, the patterns on her skin glowed bright like lightning. Jack grabbed her hand. "Run!" They bolted from the chamber. Plasma shots flying past them, alarms blaring. They ran like their lives depended on it, because they did. Jack's heart slammed in his chest with every step as alarms screamed through the halls of the Varel Nexus station. Behind them, guards shouted in a language his translator struggled to keep up with. Plasma shots burned the air, missing by inches. Valara led the way, moving faster than Jack thought possible. The glowing patterns on her skin pulsed brighter with every turn, almost as if her body was guiding her. She didn't even hesitate when she pushed open sealed doors. They responded to her touch, unlocking with a flicker of blue light. "How ... Are you doing that?" Jack gasped between breaths. "I don't know." Villara shouted back. "It just works." "The bond is changing me," Jack cursed under his breath. This wasn't just about a mistake anymore. The council wanted them dead. Because of what she was becoming, and worse, he could feel it too. Deep in his mind, Villara's panic bled into him. Every time she hurt, he winced. Every time she felt fear, his stomach twisted. They burst into an old maintenance tunnel. The lights here were dim and flickering, the air filled with the scent of rust and oil. They stopped to catch their breath, listening for the echo of footsteps. Silence. For now. Jack leaned against a wall, panting. We can't keep running. They'll track us down eventually." Villara's eyes glowed softly in the dark. "Then we have to find a way to leave the station." Jack shook his head. "They'll have every dock locked down. No ship will launch without their permission." Villara frowned, thinking hard. "There's another way, but it's dangerous." Jack sighed. "Of course it is." She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "There's an old cargo shuttle docked in the lower rings. It's off the grid, only used for station repairs. But it hasn't flown in years." Jack's eyes lit up. "I'm an engineer. I can fix it." Villara's lips curved into a faint smile. "Then we have a chance." But just as hope sparked between them, the tunnel lights died completely, plunging them into darkness. Then a voice echoed around them, cold and mocking. "You cannot run forever, little bonded." Jack spun, flashlight raised, but the beam only caught shadows. Villara stiffened. That voice. It's Elder Varn. Then, out of the darkness, a figure emerged. Tall, clad in black armor, his face hidden beneath a hood. But Jack didn't need to see his face to feel the menace rolling off him. "I told the council to kill you the moment the bond was formed," Varn said, his voice smooth and cruel. "But they hesitated. I won't." With a wave of his hand, several armed soldiers appeared behind him, weapons trained. "Give her up, human," Varn sneered. "Perhaps we'll spare you." Jack stepped in front of Villara. "Not a chance," Varn chuckled. "You're braver than I expected." Then, he raised a small device, a thin black rod with glowing red lines. Before Jack could react, Varn pressed the button, and a sharp pulse of energy slammed into Jack's chest. Pain exploded through him, unlike anything he'd felt. But what was worse, he wasn't the only one screaming. Villara collapsed too, clutching her chest, her body convulsing. The bond was sharing the pain between them. Varn smiled coldly. "Ah, yes. The bond is working. Hurt one, the other suffers. That will make things easier." Jack gritted his teeth, fighting the agony. He saw Villara on the ground, her skin flickering with light, her breath ragged. Something inside him. Snap. No, he wouldn't let them win. Suddenly the air around them shifted. A strange heat built in Jack's veins, like his blood was turning electric. Without thinking, he raised his hand, and the nearest guard's weapon exploded in his grasp, sending him flying. Varn's smile vanished. What? Jack didn't understand it, but the bond was waking something inside him too. He focused, and the lights overhead shattered in a wave, plunging the tunnel deeper into darkness. Except for the glow from Villara's skin, now shining like a star. She stood, slowly, eyes blazing bright blue. The patterns on her body danced with light, her voice steady despite the pain. "You will not touch us," she said, her voice echoing strangely, not just in sound, but in Jack's mind. Varn cursed, raising his weapon. But before he could fire, Villara stretched out her hand, and the weapon froze in midair, locked by invisible force. Varn's eyes widened, real fear showing now. "This is why we banned the bond," he muttered. "You're too dangerous." "Good," Villara whispered. "Be afraid." With a push of her hand, Varn and his soldiers were hurled back by a shockwave of energy. Crashing into the walls. Silence returned, the air crackling with leftover power. Jack stumbled forward, breathless. What was that? Valara looked down at her hands, shaking slightly. I don't know. But it saved us. Jack put a hand on her shoulder, his pulse racing. We have to go. Now, Valara nodded. The cargo. Shuttle. It's our only way out. But as they fled deeper into the tunnels, one thought gnawed at Jack's mind. If the bond could give them powers like this, what else could it awaken? And what other enemies were waiting in the dark, just like Varn? They were no longer just fugitives. They were a threat to the Council, to the station, maybe to the entire galaxy. And soon, someone even worse than Varn would come to finish what he couldn't. They reached the lower docks just as the station's emergency lights turned red. Valara's glow had faded slightly, but Jack could still feel her presence deep in his mind. A hum, a pulse that wasn't his but felt like it belonged. His legs burned, his lungs ached, but something inside him pushed forward. A strange energy filled his body, as if his limits didn't matter anymore. Valara stopped suddenly in front of an old cargo shuttle, half buried in dust and metal crates. The vessel looked ancient, its hull dented, cables hanging like vines. The paint was chipped, the nameplate barely readable. Jack stared. This is our ride? Valara smiled faintly. It's the only ship not linked to the Council systems. No trackers. No lockdown codes. Jack stepped forward, eyes scanning. The damage. To any normal engineer, this ship was a graveyard. But as his fingers touched the hull, a jolt passed through him. Images flashed in his mind. Schematics, wires, circuits, as if the shuttle was speaking to him. He stumbled back wide-eyed. I can see how to fix it. Valara tilted. Her head. What do you mean? Jack shook his head. I don't know. It's like blueprints in my brain. I know what's wrong. I know what tools I need. Valara approached cautiously. It's the bond. It's not just changing me. It's changing you too. Jack laughed weakly. Lucky me. Without wasting time, Jack pulled open a panel and started rewiring. His hands moved faster than he thought possible, his mind guiding him to the exact spots. The ship's dead engines began to flicker to life, lights humming softly. Valara watched. In awe, your mind is evolving. It's adapting to alien technology like it's natural. Jack paused, wiping sweat from his forehead. And your powers, that thing you did to Varn and his guards. That wasn't just luck. Valara glanced at her hands, the glow faint but still alive. I don't know what I can do yet. But I feel stronger, like my body holds more than just muscle and bone now. Then she looked at Jack, her eyes serious. But it's not just us. The bond is pushing us together, physically, mentally, maybe even spiritually. Jack swallowed hard. What does that mean? Valara took a step closer. If we don't learn to control this connection, it'll control us instead. And that could destroy both of us. Before Jack could respond, the CUM system on the wall crackled to life. A cold, calculated voice spoke. You cannot escape, bonded ones. This station is under complete lockdown. We will find you. You are both too dangerous to be left alive. Jack glanced at Valara. They're hunting us. We need to leave now, she said firmly. Jack nodded and dove back into the controls. With each wire he reconnected, the ship seemed to breathe again. Lights along the interior blinked to life, engines purred like sleeping beasts awakening. But just as the main power engaged, Valara stiffened. She clutched her head, gasping. What is it? Jack rushed to her side. Eyes widened, glowing intensely. I can hear them. Hear who? The guards, the council. Their thoughts their voices. They're coming. I can hear their plans. Jack stepped back in shock. You're telepathic now? Valara nodded, wincing. Yes, But it's like a storm in my mind. I can't control the noise. She staggered, and Jack caught her before she collapsed. We need to block it, he said. How? Valara trembled. I don't know ... but maybe if you focus on me ... Anchor me. Jack swallowed, unsure. But he placed his hands on her temples, closed his eyes, and focused on her presence, the gentle pulse that tied them together. He pictured her calm, her mind still, the connection between them steady and warm. Slowly, her breathing eased. The glow in her skin steadied, her body stopped shaking. I can control it, she whispered. With you near ... I can focus. Jack opened his eyes, amazed. So I'm your shield, huh? Velara smiled weakly. Looks like it. Suddenly, the ship shuddered, a low vibration rumbling under their feet. Jack ran back to the console. Engines online. We can launch, but Velara's eyes narrowed. They've set explosives on the docking bay. They want to destroy the entire section to kill us. Jack's face went pale. Can we make it in time? Velara grabbed his hand, eyes glowing bright. We don't have a choice. They bolted into the cockpit. Jack sat at the controls, fingers flying faster than his thoughts. The ship responded. Instantly, as if the bond had unlocked some hidden link between him and the vessel. Velara stood behind him, her hands raised, eyes closed, focusing on the mines around them, dodging danger before it. The stars stretched endlessly before them, 1,000 bright points. Scattered across the black ocean of space. Jack stared out from the cockpit of the old shuttle, hands still firm on the controls. The station Varel Nexus was just a speck. Behind them now, still burning in places from the sabotage explosions. But there was no time to admire their escape, because something was following them. Velara stood beside him, eyes closed, her hands trembling slightly. They've sent hunters. Jack's grip tightened. Ships? Velara shook her head. No ... worse, an ancient predator. The Council's last weapon. She opened her eyes, and Jack could see the fear inside them. They've awakened the Warden of the Void, a creature that was built to hunt those who bonded like us. Jack frowned. You're telling me there's some kind of monster chasing us now? Yes, Velara whispered. It hunts through space. Tracking the bond itself, we can't hide from it. As if to answer, the ship's sensors blared. A massive shadow approached from behind, cutting through the stars like a dark blade. The radar struggled to define it, but Jack caught a glimpse through the viewport. An enormous creature, part machine, part flesh, its body covered in metal plates and glowing eyes scattered across its form. Jack's stomach sank. That's not a ship. No, Velara said grimly. It's alive. And it's coming for us. The creature moved faster than any ship Jack had seen, closing the distance in moments. Tentacles of dark energy extended from its body, reaching for them. We can't outrun that. Jack yelled. Velara grabbed his arm. Then we fight. Jack stared at her. With what? We have an old shuttle and no weapons. Velara's eyes burned bright. We have us. Suddenly, Jack felt the bond stir deeper inside him, hotter, sharper, more alive than ever before. His mind buzzed with energy, like circuits had rewired overnight. He could feel Velara's heartbeat sync with his own, their thoughts moving in tandem. She stepped to the center of the cockpit, her body glowing, patterns alive under her skin. Jack ... Channel it. Channel what? Me, the bond, together. Jack closed his eyes and focused. He thought of Velara, her voice, her presence, the strange thread that tied them together. Slowly, he felt it, a current of energy flowing between them, deeper than thought, older than memory. Suddenly, the shuttle systems lit up, brighter, faster, stronger. The engines pulsed with new life. The ship was responding to them. Jack's eyes shot open. I can feel it, the ship, it's like it's part of us. Velara smiled. Good, now, let's make it fight back. The shadow of the Warden loomed closer, its energy tentacles ready to crush them. But before it could strike, the shuttle's panels glowed, channels of blue light coursing through the walls. Jack didn't know how he knew, but he reached for the ship's core reactor, his mind touching it like a familiar tool. He willed the ship to move, to strike. Outside, the shuttle erupted with an energy pulse, a shockwave that blasted the warden's first tentacles apart, making the creature reel back. Valara raised her hands, and from her palms, light shimmered. A shield of pure force surrounded the shuttle, crackling against the dark space. Jack grinned. "We're doing it. We're actually fighting back." Valara's voice was steady but urgent. "Don't lose focus. The warden adapts." The creature roared, soundless in the void, but its energy struck again, faster, sharper. One of its strikes slammed into their shield, rocking the shuttle violently. Jack grit his teeth. "We need more." "Then reach deeper." Valara shouted. Jack shut his eyes and reached into the bond itself, past the surface connection, past the feelings. Deeper into the core. Suddenly he saw it, not with eyes, but with mind. A swirling storm of light, his and Valara's souls woven together. He grasped it, and the power surged. The shuttle transformed, its hull glowing, its engines burning. Hotter, faster. And then, weapons Jack didn't even know existed extended from its sides, forged by the energy they shared. Valara's eyes widened. "You're shaping the ship... with your mind," Jack smiled. "Then let's finish this." He locked onto the warden, aimed, and fired. Beams of pure energy lanced through the void, slamming into the creature's core. The warden shrieked, a sound that echoed in their minds, and lashed out desperately. But Valara raised her hands, channeling the bond, forming a barrier of brilliant light. "Now, Jack!" she shouted. Jack poured everything into the final shot, their shared. Fear, strength, hope, and fired. The blast struck the warden's heart. The creature convulsed, its eyes flickering out one by one, and then, in a flash of collapsing light, it vanished into dust. Silence returned to space. The bond inside them stilled, like a heartbeat slowing after a sprint. Jack leaned back, panting. We did it." Valara smiled, her eyes still glowing softly. "Yes, together." The shuttle drifted quietly now, the stars once again peaceful. But Jack knew the fight wasn't over. "What now?" he asked. Valara looked to the stars. "We run, we hide, and we grow stronger." Jack nodded. "And when they come again?" Valara met his gaze, her voice firm. "We'll be ready. Because now they'll fear us, not just for what we are, but for what we can become. Together. Bonded by accident but forged by fate, they sailed into the stars, not just fugitives anymore, but something new, something the galaxy would never forget.